Hello, guys, and welcome to week 3 of our lecture for living in the IT era. For this week, we will be studying about self-presentation and impression management in the digital age. For our essential questions, we have the following. What is digital information and computer age? What is the evolution of media and its effect on the youth? For our intended learning outcomes, we have explained the role of ICT in social change and understand the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and imminent threats of the digital age. Digital information or computer age is defined as a time period starting in the 1970s with the introduction of the PC, with subsequent technology introduced, providing the ability to transfer information freely and quickly. So when we say digital information or computer age, we are pertaining to the same time period. Okay, it is the time period that started from the 1970s with the introduction of the PC and all the related technology, such as smartphones, laptops, and the likes. The era we live today, although computers began to penetrate the business world in the 1960s and 1970s, personal computers in the 1980s combined with the internet in the 1990s dramatically increased the presence of digital devices. In the 2010s, a revolution occurred with smartphone, placing a full-fledged computing device into nearly everyone's pocket. Collins Dictionary simply defines the digital or information age as a time when large amounts of information are widely available to many people, largely through computer technology. Overview of early developments. How did the digital or computer age started? We can have an overview of how it started with the following. First is the library expansion and Moore's law. Library expansion was calculated in the 1945 by Fremont Rider to double in capacity every 16 years where sufficient space made available. He advocated replacing bulky, decaying printed works with miniaturized microform analog photographs which could be duplicated on demand for library patrons and other institutions. Now, in our library today, what you could see, especially in the Philippines, what you could see is mostly printed materials. But if you will have the chance to go to more modern and more complete libraries, some of their files are actually stored in microform photographs. This looks like a film for the analog camera. If you're familiar with the film for the analog camera, which is like an acetate, okay, the printed material is embedded or photographed in there. So that is what a microform analog photograph looks like. And then it is placed inside a special device where you could see or you could project the prints or the photographs using a projector. So why did the Fremont Rider advocated the use of that? Simply because the microform photographs can store the document longer as well as it takes up less space than printed works. Okay. Ryder did not foresee, however, the digital technology that would follow decades later to replace analog microform with digital imaging. Okay, so analog microform or film with digital imaging, storage, and transmission media, whereby vast increases in the rapidity of information brought would be made possible to automated, potentially lossless digital technologies. Accordingly, Moore's law, formulated around 1965, would calculate that the number of transistors in a dense integrated circuit doubles every 2 years. So who is Gordon Earl Moore? Gordon Earl Moore is one of the founders of Intel, which is the company that built the Intel Corporation that manufactures one of the leading processors in the world today. So he was the one, or he was one of the one that formulated what we call as Moore's law, which states that every 2 years there will be a double of transistors in an IC. However, right now Moore's law is actually slowly not being applied anymore, simply because there is a limit on how many ICs that can be placed inside a particular chip. Okay, how many transistors can be placed inside an IC? So what's happening right now is actually, instead of doubling the transistors in the IC, what's happening is that components, specifically what we call the fabrication process, what's happening is that it becomes smaller and smaller. Smaller and smaller each and every year, which allows computers to consume less energy, whereas it is able to perform almost as powerful as its counterpart. However, it is able to consume less power. And then those that is able to consume the same amount of power has at least more or less 50% more computing power than that of the previous generation. Okay, so slowly Moore's law is not being implemented anymore because there are different changes on how ICs or integrated circuits are implemented in a processor. Different companies, specifically AMD, paved the way for a smaller fabrication process, or what we call the nanometer. If I'm not mistaken, right now, the smallest nanometer which is used by Samsung is around 3 nanometer. It was led by AMD. Unfortunately, Intel was not able to capitalize on the fabrication of smaller fabrication technology because I think they had problems with the fabrication process, unlike AMD, which contracted private firms to build their own processors. But Intel is slowly catching up. However, as I have said, Moore's law is slowly getting phased out in favor of the newer technologies that is being implemented in computer processors. By the early 1980s, along with the improvements in computing power, the proliferation of smaller and less expensive PCs allowed for immediate access to information and the ability to share and store that information. Connectivity between computers within organizations enabled access to greater amounts of information. We also have the information storage and Kreider's law. The world's technological capacity to store information grew from 2.6 exabyte EB in 1986 to 15.8 exabytes in 1993, over 54.5 exabytes in 2000, and to 295 exabytes in 2007. This is the information equivalent to less than 1,730 megabyte of CD-ROM per person in 1986, or 539 MB per person, roughly 4 CD-ROM per person in 1993, 12 in year 2000, and almost 61 per person in 2007. It is estimated that the world's capacity to store information has reached 5 zettabytes in 2014, the information equivalent to 4,500 stacks of printed books from the Earth to the Sun. The amount of digital data stored appears to be growing approximately exponentially, remnants of Moore's law. As such, Kreider's law, named after Mark Howard Kreider, prescribes that the amount of space available appears to be growing approximately exponentially. Okay. Most especially during this time when we consume lots of media such as TikTok and YouTube, this storage space increases each and every second. So imagine how many people creates YouTube or TikTok videos every second. So the amount of necessary storage increases every second. Okay. So that is how Kreider's law was created. Information transmission. The world's technological capacity to receive information through one-way broadcast networks was 432 exabytes in 1986, 715 in 1993, 1.2 zettabytes in 2000, and 1.9 zettabytes in 2007. The information equivalent of 174 newspapers per person per day. The world's effective capacity to exchange information through two-way telecommunication networks was 281 petabytes in 1986, 471 in 1993, 2.2 exabytes in 2000, 65 exabytes in 2007. The information equivalent of 6 newspapers per day per person. In the 1990s, the spread of the internet caused a sudden leap in access to and ability to share information in businesses and homes globally. Technology was developing so quickly that a computer costing $3,000 in 1997 would cost 2,000 2 years later and $1,000 the following year. Computation. The world's technological capacity to compute information with humanly guided general purpose computers grew from 3.0 times 108 MIPS in 1986 to 4.4 times 109 in 1993 to 2.9 times 1011 MIPS to 6.4 times 10 times 1012 MIPS in 2007. An article featured in the journal Trends in Ecology and Evolution in 2016 reported that digital technology has vastly exceeded the cognitive capacity of any single human being, and so has done so a decade earlier than predicted. In terms of capacity, there are two measures of importance: the number of operations a system can perform and the amount of information that can be stored. The number of synaptic operations per second in a human brain has been estimated to lie between 10 raised to the 15th and 10 raised to the 17th raised to the power of 17. Okay? While this number is impressive, even in 2007, humanity's general purpose computers were capable of performing well over 10 raised to the power of 18 instructions per second. Estimates suggest that the storage capacity of an individual human brain is about 10 raised to the 12 bytes. On a per capita basis, this is matched by current digital storage. Genetic information. Genetic code may also be considered part of the information revolution. Now that sequencing has been computerized, genome can be rendered and manipulated as data. This started with DNA sequencing invented by Walter Gilbert and Alan Maxam in 76 to 77 and Frederick Sanger in 1977. Grew steadily with the Human Genome Project, initially conceived by Gilbert and finally the practical applications of sequencing, such as gene testing, after the discovery by Myriad Genetics of the BRCA1 breast cancer gene mutation. Sequence data in GeneBank has grown from 606 genome sequences in December 1982 to 231 million genomes in August 2021. An additional 13 trillion incomplete sequences are registered in the whole genome shotgun submission database as of August 2021. The information contained in these registered sequences has doubled every 18 months. So imagine even the genetic code of different living beings is part or considered as a part of the information revolution, which helps in bringing about the computer age. Different stage conceptualizations. During rare times in human history, there have been periods of innovation that have transformed human life. The Neolithic Age, Scientific, and Industrial Age all ultimately induce discontinuous and irreversible changes in economic, social, and cultural aspects of the daily life of most people. Traditionally, these epochs have taken place over hundreds, or in the case of the Neolithic Revolution, thousands of years, whereas the Information Age is felt to all parts of the globe in just a few years. The reason for its rapid adaptation is the rapidly advancing speed of information exchange. Between 7,000 and 10,000 years ago, during the Neolithic periods, humans began to domesticate animals, farm grains, and replace stone tools with ones made of metals. These innovations allowed nomadic gatherers hunters to settle down. Villages formed along the Yangtze River in 6500 BC, the Nile River region of Africa and Mesopotamia in 6000 BC. Cities emerged between 6000 and 5500 BC. Development of written communication or cuneiform in Sumeria and hieroglyphics in India in 3500 BC, and writing in Egypt in 2560 BC, and in Minoa in China around 1450 BC, enabled ideas to be preserved for extended periods to spread extensively. In all, Neolithic developments augmented by writing as an information tool laid the groundwork for the advent of civilization. The scientific age, which began in the period between Galileo's 1543 proof that the planets orbit the sun and Newton's publication of the laws of motion and gravity in Principia in 1697. The age of discovery continued through the 18th century, accelerated by the widespread use of movable type printing press by Johannes Gutenberg. The Industrial Age began in Great Britain in 1760, continuing until the mid 19th century. It altered many aspects of life around the world. Invention of machines such as the mechanical textile weaver by Edmund Cartwright, the rotating shaft steam engine by James Watt, and the cotton gin by Ellie Whitney, along with processes for mass manufacturing, came to serve the needs of a growing global population. The industrial age harnessed steam and water power to reduce the dependence on animal and human physical labor as the primary means of production. Thus, the core of the Industrial Revolution was the generation and distribution of energy from coal and water to produce steam and later, in the 20th century, electricity. The information age also requires electricity to power the global networks of computers that processes and store data. However, what dramatically accelerated the pace of adoption of the information age as compared to the previous ones was the speed by which knowledge could be transferred and pervaded the entire human family in a few short decades. This acceleration came about with the adoptions of a new form of power. Beginning in 1972, engineers devised ways to harness light to convey data through fiber optic cable. Today, light-based optical networking systems at the heart of telecom networks and the internet span the globe and carry most of the information traffic to and from users and data storage systems. We have three stages of the information age. So notice we have the primary and the secondary information age. Under the primary, we have newspaper, radio, and television. Under the secondary, we have the internet and satellite televisions. Now, from this particular secondary information age, we also have the tertiary information age, which comprises of mobile phones or mobile computers. There are different conceptualizations of the information age. Some focus on the evolution of information over the ages, distinguishing between the primary and secondary information age. Information in the primary information age was handled by newspapers, radios, and television. The secondary information age was developed by the internet, satellite TVs, and mobile phones. The tertiary information age was emerged by the media of the primary information age interconnected with the media as secondary information age as presently experienced. So the connection of the internet and then a newspaper or printed media interconnecting together in order to form the tertiary information age through the use of mobile phones. We also have what we call the long waves tree paradigm, wherein we have the transforming material, which is from the 2 million BC up to 1200 BC, stone tools, bronze tools, and iron tools. We have the transforming energy, which is from 1780 to 1973, from water, steam, electric, and combustion power. And then we have the transforming information, which consists of the period from 1973 up to the present. It contains communicating and storing information as well as computing information through knowledge and algorithms. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and imminent threats of the digital age. Nearly every aspect of our everyday lives has been affected or transformed by digital technology. Travel, life, shopping, leisure, and communications are just a part of the many aspects that have been revolutionized in the past few decades. Finding an electronic device does not incorporate digital technology in any manner is now unthinkable and unimaginable. Digital technology means that nowadays devices can be more compact, faster, lighter, and versatile. And what does this mean? Is digital technology beneficial to us? And if so, in what ways? Digital technology is beneficial to us humans in many ways. For instance, social connectivity. With the use of digital technology, we are able to connect to our friends and family in an instant at our own convenience. Moreover, we are able to communicate on a global level, not just through text, but also through the use of videos, music, and other forms of media. Another advantage that comes with the digital technology is versatile working. Due to the ease of access of the internet, it is easier for those who need to put themselves out there in order to find their dream job. More connectivity means more opportunities, and thus finding work has become easier for many all around the world. Apart from that, many people are now able to work from home or on the go and do not have to be tied down to a strict 9 to 5 job thanks to the internet. There are many instances where digital technology positively affects our lives. Example, learning opportunities, automation, information storage, communication, editing, transformation, transportation, GPS and mapping, and many more. Especially during this time of the pandemic, through a work from home concept. So we do not need to go to our physical office in order to do our particular work or task. However, with the many advantages comes the not so positive aspects of the digital world. Technology is a powerful tool that can be used to our greatest advantage, everyone use it, but not everyone uses it as such. Digital technology means that our personal information and data can be easily accessed or hacked by whoever can gain access to it. This information can be very private and confidential, and in the hands of someone dangerous can be used against us and result in very threatening consequences. This brings us to our next disadvantage, which is privacy concerns. Nowadays, it has become much harder for us to keep a hold of our privacy. For instance, everyone has the opportunity to take pictures or videos of us without our consent with the use of a simple smartphone. Minor indiscretions can now hunt an individual for life when they're posted on the internet. In applying for a job, employers can easily look you up on different social media sites to analyze your lifestyle or read the blogs you feel express yourself with. All of this might influence your judgment of you and thus cause you to miss out on that particular job opportunity. Controlling your personal information is very difficult and sometimes impossible, which is why we must remind ourselves to use the internet with caution and great responsibility. So through here, we have the concept of data protection and data privacy. Now, these two are very different. Data protection is how you could protect your data while it is on the internet, and data privacy is how you could protect your particular identity when you are on the outside world. Okay. So, although these two are almost similar, they have different functionalities or different purposes. Data protection is to protect the actual data going in and out of the internet. Data privacy is to hide personal information that might cause someone to steal your particular identity. Digitalization has brought a remarkable transformation to the world, just like globalization and urbanization. Childhood is no exception to this fast growing information and communication technology. There has been an increased rate of children accessing the internet worldwide due to digital technologies and limited opportunity to learn, communicate, commerce, and free expression, especially commerce and free expression, especially in remote areas. Children now depend on digital tools and services to engage, play, innovate, and connect to the world. So, among those uses are the following: improve creativity and freedom of expression. The digital age has made children have expansive imaginations that cannot be contained. Kids only have crayons, markers, and word charts at their disposal to express those ideas in their mind and into and conveyable mode. They have much around them now to transform such ideas and thoughts into reality through their computer and tablet. The fast ability to learn skills and ever increasing rate in children has enhanced them to acquire and attach a creative expression form. Interestingly, they still have their pen and drawing books. Nevertheless, besides drawing a picture, there is 3D animation, and one can even have a bigger picture of this physical form by sending the animation to a 3D printer. Who knows what this animation can bring forth in the next few years to come. So through the use of 3D printing, we can bring out our imaginative 3D figure into the physical world. Right now, there are 3D printers that can print rockets, spaceships, and there are even 3D printers that can build a house made of cement. So those are very, very fascinating as well as very, very advanced from a few years ago. Changes in socialization or how we connect, as I have said, with the first strength through social networks, children can now interact with other children in any part of the world. Play groups that allow kids to meet new friends and enjoy moments together by playing with different toys, fostering interaction and creativity on the part of the children are now becoming a thing of the past. Children see this as stressful and will rather build an online personality instead of creating physical interaction, making a face-to-face relationship with new friends and family. Possible solution to this could be if you could bring a digital playground to your house. This is done by adding home additions to your house and the space that can be used to engage in technology. While children will be again involved with the virtual world, a difference would be that their friends can now join them. Cyberbullying. Although information communication and technology have made it simple and easy to connect, it also enabled new channels of connectivity for cyberbullying than offline, which is easier to commit because the bully does not have to confront them. It is one of the significant challenges faced by children of the present digital age. It refers to using technology to harass, embarrass, target, and threaten another, focusing on things like a person's race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, and physical differences, which might be against the law in some countries. Then lastly, project creation opportunities. Children in digital age now have opportunities to enhance scientific literacy, critical thinking, problem solving, foreign languages, learning, etc. which can be appropriately used with the digital skills available. For example, a Raspberry Pi 4 provides an opportunity to create different projects and make it fun and interesting to learn about technology. The creation of this project has promoted the teaching of necessary computer skills inside and outside of school. It has exposed large number of kids to programming projects both personally and commercially. So imagine a device as small as the palm of your hand can now be used as a full desktop. So that is what the purpose of a Raspberry Pi 4 is. With complete connections, you can add in a hard drive in the form of an SSD or an NVMe. You can add in a USB devices. There's even Wi-Fi. There's even its own memory as well as processor. So right now, the possibilities are almost endless. That is our lecture for this week. Thank you and have a good day.